So I guess I had become what they wanted me to be. An internet reviewer. Some clown with too much time yelling at a camera. Well, that's what they had auditioned for, so in the end, that's what they got. I mean, sure, I haven't had a review out for a while, but now I'm back. Things have changed. I've changed. I'm excited. Really. I was a mess. Couldn't even get a Halloween review on time. If I'm coming back, I'll need to change everything again. It'll all have to be... Shit. That won't go away. This'll never go away. I need to change everything again. They're gonna be coming for me. Sure, I'm desperate, but you can't be too sure. This is the only way. Wait, no, that's stupid. What the hell was that? What? That's mildly annoying. Oh, God, that's a headache. Well, we gotta segue into this review somehow, so what the hell. Condemned 2 Bloodshot is the sequel to Condemned, surprise surprise, taking place about a year after the events of the first game. Once again developed by Monolith Studios, they take us a step further into the dark and violent Metro City, where players will have to dive in and literally get their hands dirty this time, to find the answers to the final mysteries surrounding criminal origins. So let's cut to the chase, ladies and gents. It's time to get real violent and nuts! Naturally, talking about the sequel means I'll have to spoil certain aspects of the first game, so if you want to skip to the verdict of this whole review that I made just for your entertainment, spending countless hours to do so, then click on this guy right here. Now go on. Click it. That's what you want, isn't it? That's what you want?
Dude, you're right?
Dude, just give me a moment. Okay, so if you stayed, that means that you're good with the spoilers. Or you just want to keep watching me do things and talk, in which case I love you. Okay, same format as the last review, just gonna be taking things one step at a time and then completely going off the rails from there. So the game picks up back in Metro City, as more murders keep happening despite you finding the supposed source of the problem about a year ago. A connection from the first game suddenly reappears, leading the FBI to track down and bring in Ethan Thomas for questioning. Now, I have good news and I have bad news. Okay, I'm gonna be straight with you guys. The bad news is... they left out the sweet chin music. I know, it completely sucks. The new kick is horrible. It's this prissy little swipe kick, I don't know. It's not as good. It's not as good. But, they did, however, put one thing in it that probably makes up for it. The rock bottom! Sadly, it seems like our protagonist is far from being the people's champ, as apparently he's been taking up his time in being homeless, drunk, and absolutely bonkers since the last game. But I gotta admit, I like his hair. Kind of. And here's where we run into our first problem, the changes to the characters. Now don't get me wrong here, I like seeing characters develop, and changes that would happen in between entries as long as it makes sense. And it makes sense for Ethan to go down this road. I mean, when I saw him again, I was like, whoa, Ethan, buddy, what happened to you, man? You could use a bar of soap. That probably doesn't seem like a good idea. You might beat somebody to death with it. Or eat it. Or both. Ethan's more screwed up after the events of the last game, still having weird hallucinations, but now with a helping of violent outbursts and alcoholic tendencies. But luckily, his good character hasn't faded one bit, as we can see here in this lovely conversation with the gentleman.
It's too damn cold to be sitting in the mud. Hey, let me help you up.
Piss off.
Hey, just off. No need to bite my head off.
Oh, Thomas, you'll grow that hobo beard yet. Now, I'll come back to the characters in a bit. For now, let's look at the good things of Condemned 2, starting with the best feature, the combat. If you thought that Criminal Origins was as brutal as it gets, Bloodshot can get near primal. The combat system has gotten a little more complex, as you can now string up different combos to deal extra damage. Not only that, but there's a wider array of crazy weapons you can add to your arsenal, as well as different upgrades to Thomas throughout each level. That ranges from stuff to brass knuckles, to, oh hey, you can actually holster your gun now. That's pretty neat.
Anti-Semite?
As I mentioned before, you can use your fists now whenever you don't have a weapon. Though it is better to have some kind of weapon, it's still neat to just punch dudes left and right. Like, literally, with your left and right hands. It's pretty great. You can also hold the block button now, getting rid of the momentary block from the last game, but at the risk of your weapon being easily broken. A big feature in this game is this super combo thingy right up here, which has you unleash Thomas's rage upon an enemy by doing a little QTE moment. You'll find that the game will start to throw in more enemies than Criminal Origins, so it's best to get used to the new combat to make it out in one piece. It's still the good, clean, family-oriented bloodbath that has been given the, yeah, sure, go ahead, stamp of unattentive and negligent parents everywhere.
Mommy, I want to buy this game.
Uh-huh, okay, sweetheart, what's it called?
Condemned 2, Bloodshot.
Okay, here's Mommy's credit card, you know how to use it, honey. A thing I mentioned in my review of Criminal Origins was the fact that the CSI bits slowed the game down. Now, that wasn't meant to be a negative. I mean, I thought it was a neat addition, but it just seemed like it held your hand through most of it. Now, you could be asking if I need a hint, and I would say, oh, get out of here, you dark, insane reminder of my past. Thankfully, Bloodshot takes some things in the right direction. Surprisingly enough, Thomas doesn't have that huge array of equipment anymore, as he has it all on his handy-dandy cell phone, which I think is a pretty good idea. I dig that. Now, what I really like is that the player gets to actually make some decisions in these segments, with the game rating your detective skills. Now, some may see these as kind of gimmicky elements, but I kinda like it. It asks the player to pay attention to what's going on. You feel more involved with the game world. I mean, it doesn't really change the story or anything like that, but still, it's an interesting aspect. But think of it this way. The player has the choice of fleshing out the character a little more, to interpret whether his detective skills are still as sharp as ever, or he's just a big frickin' mess, shouting at everybody. Well, now that we're on the subject of characters, I think it's as good a time as any to start delving into them with a little more detail. Now, you might notice that I don't sound very enthusiastic talking about this aspect, and that's because the characters aren't as good as the first game. Well, that's not to say that Ethan Thomas was the most interesting character in the first game, but still, there's a pretty big gap. The beginning of the game was pretty much what you can expect. Ethan is more screwed up and has to find Malcolm Van Horn from the first game to find out the answers to what the hell is even going on. But seriously, like, what the what? Who's this guy? What? Who are you? What is this?
Who are you people?
Now, going to the supporting cast, they really did a number on them since the last game. Absolutely none of these characters look the same way they did in the other one. While characters like Ethan make sense to receive change, others like Rosa or Van Horn have gone through a very distinct change since Criminal Origins. They also throw in some new characters, but you don't really care about them either, except for maybe LaRue for a few minutes, but nobody really cares about him either. Okay, so maybe you don't care about all that stuff. All you want to do is to get to the super scary stuff. And I don't blame you. I mean, this is a survival horror game after all, so let's get right to it. God, I love doing that. Ah, yeah. You know what else feels good? Actually getting scared. In a game that's supposed to be about horror. Okay, now that might be subjective, you know, you're listening to my opinion about a game that came out 7 years ago, but that won't stop me from saying that this game only barely managed to scare me. The closest thing the game had to a creepy environment was scattered throughout fragments of levels. Like, there's this really tight environment of the second level, the beginning of the SCU stage, and a bear. Oh yeah, bet you weren't expecting bears in this game now, were you? Now that shit gets intense for a good while. There was even a time when the hallucinations caught me off guard. That was great, but they never follow up on that. But the thing is, the game suffers from the same symptom that so many other horror sequels do. More action, less buitis. I guess I should have seen that coming when the game started mentioning combos and stuff like upgrades every level. The closest thing this game gets to being genuinely frightening is a reference back to the mannequins in Criminal Origins. Anything else after this feels like they could have done so much more with it, but they barely scratched the surface. Now you'll find that the graphics have gotten a bit of an update, so it looks real neat. Until this game starts dropping frames and takes things into the uncanny valley that just... it's off-putting, even by my bargain binning standards. I mean, just look at it, it looks... It looks... Now, you may notice I'm starting to get a little unfriendly in my tone when talking about this game, and that all has to do with stuff that I'll talk about in the spoilery area. So, you know the drill. If you don't want to know it... If you like the mystery of Criminal Origins, and wanted to know what exactly was, well, the Criminal Origins, then this game is really not gonna satisfy you. Remember what I said about the game explaining a shit ton of crap in a matter of 2 to 3 minutes? Now this game turns that into an art, perfectly executing the right response out of you. Huh? So let's begin to list things out here. The reason people are going crazy and killing each other is because there are these sonic emitters that scramble up people's brains. It's also why the birds are dying, so there you go, myth busted. But where do these emitters come from? Oh, from a lovely little cult group that have sonic powers. Yeah, that went south really fast now, didn't it? Remember what I said at the end of the last game? About the supernatural stuff being these hate demons that took control of people through hatred and fear? Well, I really wish that was the case. Now, apparently it's because of this weird cult that Ethan's parents were a part of, called the Oro, who have sonic powers or something like that, I don't know. Think of them as the Illuminati, except they're really noisy. The reason Ethan is an important part of it is because he's some destined child or a guy with a unique dragon shout, sonic yelling thing? I don't know, it's a thing and it makes him dangerous and everybody wants a piece of him, or they want him to die, or they want to help him. No, what? Now, I don't know about you, but this makes absolutely no sense to me.
Start making some sense.
I don't know, it just seemed like they were trying too hard to make this a big, epic, action-packed story, but it just makes no sense. Nothing really grinded my gears as much as the ending did. Oh god, okay, look, if you want to set up for a sequel, that's all well and good, you can do that, but give me a satisfying conclusion to the game I'm playing. Apart from the fact that you end with the most anticlimactic final level, along with an atrocious boss fight, the lack of any real closure to any of the plot points set up throughout the whole game left me with a really bad taste in my mouth. So did Ethan conquer his demons, or what the hell happened? Who are the Oro? What's going on? Is the president now? Like, what's going on with the city? Did all the sonic emitters get destroyed? I feel like the final confrontation between Dorland and Ethan perfectly encapsulates my feelings toward the end of the game.
You don't know, do you? Christ, you're the fool. A puppet like everyone else.
Alright, now you may be surprised that I have more bad stuff to say about it than good, so is there anything else left to the game? Just like the last one, there are details in this game that make it just a little more enjoyable, like how the game handles alcohol. Because of Ethan's necessity for alcohol, his regular aim with a weapon tends to sway and be inaccurate a lot of the time. Only when you resort to the awesome power of liquor do you regain your sights and are able to pull off those sweet headshots. I just find it really funny that this game treats alcohol like something that improves your character rather than weaken him. Another cool thing is the ability to throw weapons. Not much to say, just those sick, twisted pleasures. Oh man, that's great. Now, recalling my little Bioshock comment from the first game, some will find that this game pulls more from Bioshock's book. Sander Cohen ripoff. Once you beat the game, you also have these little challenge maps called fight clubs, which is your typical little arcade-style fighting. If all you want to do is just beat the ever-living crap out of you guys, then this is a nice way to pass the time too. There's also, was multiplayer. As you can guess, all the servers have been closed, so there's not much I can say about that. To sum it all up, there's brutal combat, interesting gameplay segments, but due to a messy story, you don't really get any satisfaction after beating the game. I can't say this is a game I might recommend for Halloween, or even something to pick up on a regular day, because the whole ending just kind of ruined the game for me. It just sits well below what I expected it to deliver. I don't know, I don't see myself playing it anytime soon. Do with this information what you will. For me, Condemned 2 feels like a wasted opportunity at something that could have been just so much greater. On that note, I was expecting a lot more out of the hallucinations on this game. It seemed like they could have just played a much bigger role than they should have been. It doesn't impact me as much as it did in the first... like it's doing now. I can see you. Yeah. Listen, pal. I'm already disappointed by this game. You don't need to disappoint me further by telling me what the hell you are. I didn't already appreciate your little makeup job that you did right here. Sheesh, alright then, Mr. Impatient. I'm just here to remind you that you need to wake up. Wake up? What are you talking about? Yes. Remember what you did. Remember. And wake up. We have work to do. Yeah, it's still kind of vague. Do you mind giving me, like, a straight answer for once? Because I don't really feel like... Ah! Jesus! That's a very straight answer. Oh, fuck! Ah, God damn it. Wake up. Now it all makes sense. This is why there were no intro credits in these reviews. Wake up from the lie to see the truth. They were dead.